my beautiful people, it's Suzanne here with another weekly dose of support for driven creatives who desire to realize their full potential and become who they really are. This week, we are talking about negative thinking. So of course, I have some really beautiful perspectives for you that are going to shift things. And of course, the 5-step process with a bonus question, journal prompt to think about at the end, a power question that's going to really help you not only shift through your negative thinking, but also help you create a breakthrough in your life. So if that sounds really good to you, then I'm really excited to dive in. First, I want to talk about sort of the sources of negative thinking, right? Because all of our bodies and mind are one big interrelated organism. So our thoughts affect our feelings affect our thoughts, the way that we're living affects how we think and feel. It's a circle, it's a whole interrelated network, and one thing can't be separated from the other thing as much as modern psychology or modern medicine wants to separate the mind and the body and all of these different things. They're all related, you can't separate it. One really powerful source of negative thoughts is unhealed emotional pain. And I talked about this a lot in my shadow work video, which is a really great video, very powerful. If you haven't watched that already, definitely go back and do that. You do not want to miss it, because it's going to help you really do the deeper inner work that is going to help you release the negative thought patterns, because a lot of negative thought patterns come from deeper beliefs or perceptions about who we think we are. Like, I'm not good enough, or, I'm not worthy. These deeper beliefs that relate to painful experiences from when we were younger, they manifest in more surface related thoughts. Thoughts like, every time I try new things, I fail, or I'm not going to try that because it's not going to work out anyway, or who am I to interject my opinion into a conversation? They're not going to listen to me anyway. So those are the more surface level thoughts that come from the deeper belief systems that come from deep, unhealed emotional pain. And so if you are just slapping positive affirmations on top of negative beliefs and pain, it just doesn't work. You have to go deep. You have to go to the root. You have to clear all that junk out, and then you can reprogram your mind. It makes it much easier to reprogram your mind once you have cleared out all that past pain. So you definitely want to do that and not ignore the deeper emotional healing. Maybe you want to ignore it, I don't know, but you just can't, right? So sorry to be the bearer of bad news. The second source of unhealed or of negative emotions is living in a way that is disconnected from your soul. So are you watching a lot of social media? Are you scrolling your phone a lot? Are you scrolling your phone instead of scrolling your soul? Are you watching a lot of television? Are you looking for answers outside of you? Are you eating a lot of unhealthy foods? Are you not exercising, right? So that is sort of the disconnected, unaware lifestyle. And so that leaves you more connected to your doubts and your fears, and the smaller side of life, the darker side of life that doesn't really feel good, versus the connected side, the way of living that deeply connects you to your soul, right? So you have beautiful schedules for yourself. You have a beautiful morning ritual. You spend time meditating. You spend time journaling. You exercise, whether that's yoga or cardio or dance or pole or whatever really floats your boat. The other day, I was thinking about the analogy of like a plant or a tree. Why do some plants or trees die early, young, when they're just mere seedlings, and some trees grow into grand old oaks? It's the environment, it's the water that the tree or plant gets, it's the amount of sunlight that it gets, right? It's a lot of times the energy around it. All those studies that when you talk nicely to plants, they do better than when you say negative things, right? So obviously the negative thoughts affect how you feel too, but the environment, right, is really important. And we have a lot of control, a lot of power over our environment, right? We can keep it orderly. We can just spend time meditating. And so living in that way that is really connected to yourself, then you're closer to love, you're closer to your soul. And when you live in that way, then it's a lot easier to think positively. The positive thoughts just radiate naturally. And when the negative thoughts do come up, then you notice them a lot much more quickly, and it's easier to shift through to the other side. So the third source is really what I really feel like is a big core of negative thinking, which is fear and powerlessness, right? A lot of times we feel powerless in certain circumstances of our lives, or we don't have certain skills, or we just don't feel like we have the personal will to affect the kind of change that we want. And so we develop these negative thoughts, right? And the thing is that it's fear at one point. A negative thought is simply fear. And our fear at some level is always manufactured by our ego to keep us safe. And so negative thoughts are often a safety mechanism. They're protecting us from being rejected, right? Like, oh, I won't do that anyway. I'll probably fail. The fear, the pain is there as a protective mechanism because your ego wants to keep you in your safety zone and to keep you in your comfort zone and to keep you small, which we all know intellectually is not the way to a meaningful, fulfilling, satisfying life. But your ego is like the most instinctual part of you that's very connected to that fear voice. That will help you approach your negative thoughts or your experiences that you don't like in a more loving, compassionate way. How am I actually trying to keep myself safe? How is this serving me? And then this will allow you to move beyond it and to reprogram your thoughts and to then think in a way, in a positive way, and an affirmative way that really nurtures you and honors where you are, rather than, like, again, repeating affirmations that you don't believe. And if like that can actually make you feel worse, right? Because you don't want to fight your thoughts. You don't want to, fighting things is resistance. When you fight your thoughts, that means that at some level you are believing them. So let's move through the 5-step process with the bonus step at the end that's going to help you move through these thoughts in a really powerful way and also help you break through into the next level of your life, because that's what we're all about here. So the first step is to become aware. And I really want to applaud you, for watching this video right now, because the truth is you are watching this video because you became aware of your thoughts. You stopped believing them. You created enough separateness to realize, I don't like this. I don't think that it's true. I don't necessarily know how to move beyond it, but I know that there's something else, and I know that it's possible for me. I know that this negative thought that I'm thinking is not my truth. And that is a really powerful place to be, and I really want to applaud you for creating that awareness in the first place. One action step for you is to create a regular meditation practice, right? Becoming aware, because the more aware of your thoughts that you are, the more that you can shift them quickly before they spiral out of control. And you are then able to just notice more, right? Because the more that you shift into a positive mindset, the more that you live in a way that's connected to your soul and you up-level your overall experience of life, your expectations, your normal is elevated, then you notice the negative thoughts much more quickly, right? And you'll again start to notice things. Maybe you have thoughts right now that you don't even question because you believe that they're true. But as you expand and grow, you will just over time realize more and more, like, oh, that's not true. That's silly, right? And so meditation really gives you that gift. Meditation gives you the gift of becoming aware of your thoughts, which is obviously the first step to moving through them. And by aware, it's like that awareness that this is what I'm thinking and this is not true. And so if you would love a really powerful meditation practice, I recommend going to SuzanneHeine.com and downloading my famous feeling awareness meditation, which is a really powerful technique to connect you to your heart, connect you to your soul, and also release unprocessed pain, which will, of course, help you reduce the intensity of negative thinking, but also will help you just become more aware of your thoughts so that you can move through them. So the second step to move through your negative thoughts, to release them, is to write them down. Get them on a journal, right? So when they're just in your head, they're all related, one blends into the other. We really think a complete sentence in our heads, right? Like when we talk, it's one sentence and then the next sentence and the next sentence. But when we're thinking, it's just a jumble, a mess. It's like a weed, right? And so just like when you are plucking out weeds in a garden, if you go and you feel overwhelmed by all the weeds there, if you start just picking one and then picking one and then picking one, they all come out. And a lot of times you'll get one weed that picks out a bunch of other weeds right next to it, making your job a lot easier. And when you write down your thoughts, it's this exact same, right? You see like, oh, those are related. They all mean roughly the same thing. that helps you move through it faster. And it just helps you know exactly what you're dealing with so that you can move beyond it, right? You can't shift something, you can't release your negative thinking unless you know what exactly the negative thoughts are, right? Because this is a process, overall process of awareness and consciousness, right? Not, again, slapping positive affirmations into on top of a pile of garbage, but really taking out the trash, right? Removing the weeds in this very thorough process. The third step is asking yourself a really powerful question. What meaning am I attaching to this? What meaning are you attaching to your negative thoughts? So you're attached to the thought for a reason. There are so many thoughts that go through our minds every day, and a lot of them we don't cling to, we don't hold on to them. We'll just think, oh, that's a weird thought, right? And after you do this work and realize that some of these negative thoughts that you're thinking aren't true, you'll notice the thought in your head and you'll just think like, oh, well, that's a weird thought, and let it go. But the fact that you're having so much trouble moving through these thoughts and that you are attaching to them with such emotional and attentional resonance means that there is a deeper meaning attached to these for you, right? So as humans, we look for meaning in everything, right? It's not the circumstances of our lives are mostly objective, and it's the meaning that we assign to things that affects how we think and how we feel about it. And the meaning that we assign to things often relates to our own perspective on life, which relates to our deeper wounds and our deeper pains, and why it's so important to investigate those and become aware of your deeper patterns and how you can heal. And so when you're really attached to a set of string of negative thoughts, ask yourself, what meaning am I attaching to this? And this will help you understand the core deeper belief underneath all of the different emotions, right? Or all the different negative thoughts. So for example, the other day I was really struggling with just feelings of confidence related to achieving these specific goals in my business. And I asked myself what meaning I was attaching to these thoughts. And I realized that deep down, I felt like I didn't really have what it took to create the change that I wanted to in my life, or that I had, what it takes to reach my goals. And so once I realized that, I knew, okay, well, that's not true. I don't want to believe that, right? But I never would have gotten to that place because we can spend a lot of time just fighting individual thoughts or debating them or whatever. But when you ask yourself the deeper meaning, then you can identify the deeper story, which takes you to the deeper belief. And then that gives you just a deeper connection to the core of whatever it is that you're struggling with, so that you can really shift, right? So you can really not only shift the negative thinking, the negative thoughts, and heal and find peace in the moment, but then also break through into the next level of your life and achieve your goals. Step 4 is to feel your pain. So again, the meanings that we attach to things are often, the negative meanings that we attach to things are often rooted in deeper, painful, unhealed emotional experiences. And because thoughts affect feelings and feelings affect thoughts, and from my perspective, emotions are more primal, more of a raw source of energy than thoughts are. I look at thoughts as sort of condensed emotional energy. And so, but nevertheless, however you want to look at it, underneath negative thoughts are negative, so-called negative, painful emotions. And so it's really important to honor that pain, right? And again, it'll make it a lot easier to shift if you take that time to honor the pain and honor how you're feeling. You don't necessarily need to perfectly understand your emotions. You don't even need to label it. You don't need to do whatever. Those are all useful exercises, and I can talk about that in future videos. But for the sake of just moving through negative thoughts, it's just really important to give yourself a second, or maybe longer, however long you need, to really honor the pain that you're feeling. And again, in order to do that, a really powerful way is the feeling awareness meditation. And so and I have another video about that, about how to meditate to release negative emotions, that I can link to. And also, if you want to go on my website, then you can find the audio, that MP3 that you can listen to. And I really recommend practicing it every day, especially if you're struggling with a lot of negative emotions that you're wanting to move through. So again, step 4 is just to feel the pain. And I know it's not the most fun thing, but I promise you that as you feel this deeper pain, you will be able to move through and shift your negative thinking much more quickly. So step 5 is to remember who the F you are. So this is the step of reframing the negative thought, right? So you've identified it, you've realized that it's not true, and you have established the deeper meaning. And now you want to, what is the truth? And the truth is, you can that you are a being of love and light who is capable of anything that you want, and you can have anything that you desire, and you're whole and you are worthy and you are capable and you are full of love and you are worthy of love and you have what it takes. You can do it, right? So really tuning into your higher self, tuning into what would I rather believe? What is a story that I can get behind? What is a thought that feels really good? And then repeat that thought. So really good questions. What does my higher self have to say about this, right? And so again, you want to connect to a thought that feels really good and that you really believe. So something that I talk with my clients a lot and the members in my membership group, the Society of Spiritual Starlets, is the idea of transitional affirmations. So if I am infinite love, if that doesn't resonate with you in the present moment, it will, as you grow this muscle. But you can say something that's transitional, like I am learning to love myself. I believe that it is possible to love myself. I believe that it is possible to believe in myself, rather than I believe in myself deeply and completely. Obviously, the more that you can go to the just bold, definitive statement, the better. But again, honor where you are. So the transitional is you're learning to believe in something, you believe in the possibility, and just then framing the affirmation around that. And the core is that you want to just be able to believe it. You want to connect to it, feel it, and feel an energetic resonance. Yes, that makes me feel really good. And then you can just think that thought, vibe with the thought, right? And so when you then, so you can journal on the affirmations or just think the thought. So as an ongoing maintenance, then you would, when you notice the negative thoughts coming up in your head, if you've already done this process, you can just shift to the more positive thoughts. So you can connect to an affirmation and just sort of remind yourself okay, in the future, when I'm experiencing the situation, this is what I will remind myself. I can do it, right? But if you're feeling emotional stuff, if you're feeling emotional charge or pain or whatever, or you're really having trouble moving through the painful thought, then you can just go through the whole process again. So become aware, right? Write it down. What meaning are you attaching to it? Feel the pain, and then ask yourself, what is the higher thought? What would you rather believe instead? So the bonus questions, right? And then, so this is really, of course, that 5-step process was really powerful for helping you shift to a state of deeper peace. But then I really want to help you break through into the next level of your life, right? And achieve your dreams and goals and really help you give your deeper gifts to the world. So a really powerful question to ask is, in what ways am I feeling powerless? And what action can you take to reclaim your power? So I mentioned that I was having some negative thoughts related to my overall abilities to achieve certain goals. And so when I asked myself, in what ways am I feeling powerless? I realized that I felt powerless in a lot of ways. I felt powerless, like I mentioned before, in just my general ability to achieve certain things. And then I had to get really honest with myself, okay, well, maybe there's some skills that I need to learn. And I identified just specific skills that I wanted to learn, specific areas where I felt like I didn't have the ability to create what I wanted, right? Because the negative thinking was related to oh, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But the truth was that I didn't know how. I lacked certain skills. And so turning that into a question, so taking for granted your worthiness, taking for granted, assuming that you are capable of everything that you want, when you notice the negative thoughts coming up, you can recognize immediately that they're not true, because anything that doesn't feel good is not true, is not coming from your higher self. And so then you can ask, well, how can I move beyond this? How can I reclaim my power? What would help me feel better in this situation, right? And so it's never about seeing how can the outside world shift to make you feel better, but how can you shift so that you can then shift the outer world, right? Because it all starts within. So after I gained clarity on these specific steps that I could take to move forward, I then prayed and asked for guidance. Please, God, angels, universe, please guide me, please help me, figure this out, figure these specific things out. And then it was crazy. I was guided. I got the random idea to look at this journal that I bought the other day. It was really awesome. It's like the Law of Attraction Planner, highly recommended. I can link to that in the below too. And then this course that I have that I started that I never finished, and both of those combined contain the exact knowledge with the exact skills that I'm really looking to develop, right? I had been wanting to develop these skills for a long time and attracted those into my life, and then was, I guess, out of the flow, and so fell into these negative thought patterns. But I already had the materials that I need to move through this. And all that I needed to do was shift out of my negativity, remember who I am, ask for guidance, and then I was connected to the right resources to move to the next step and to create my dreams and to do all that I came here to do. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. What is one skill or one action that you could take, that you want to take, that you commit to taking, to help you either live in a way that's more connected to your soul or reclaim your power? What is something that you can do today, whether it's meditating or learning a new skill, that will help you connect to your soul and help you feel better about yourself, that will help you feel more confident and empowered, right? So it truly all begins within. So if you liked this video, then subscribe to my channel right now using that big red subscribe button. There's a blog about this on my website, which I will link to below, and share this video with your friends who would feel inspired by it, so that we can all, right, believe in ourselves and live our dreams. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.